What's up? What's up? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Uncle Fred back in the house one more again with another what they call them banger video. This one's gonna be a little different from some of my videos that I've done before. A different subject matter. You know, your boy Uncle Fred got opinions on a lot of things. I'm what's that word they like to say? A renaissance man. I like a lot of things. I like different things and different sports and different things. So it ain't all about Alabama, which hey, I'm rolling. I got that going on. It ain't about the Dallas Cowboys, and I got Dallas Cowboys too. See, Dallas was pinned. Dallas Cowboys wrote all over. So I rolled that. But that's not the extent of my football, basketball, sports knowledge. I've gotten opinions on a lot of things, and I'm willing to share them. And this gives me a vehicle to be able to do that. Anyway, go ahead, hit that like, hit that subscribe, become a part of the Uncle Fred experience. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So, okay. So we know as it relates to Alabama, I'm gonna lead with Alabama because that's where I live and that's the team I root for and squeeze for. So yeah, that's the team. So we know we just had that Iron Bowl, that exhilarating Iron Bowl, won 24-22 over Auburn in a full overtime feat that that has us going to the national champ. I'm getting ahead of myself. Going to the SEC championship game this coming Saturday, 2:30 at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, GA. Okay. What's interesting is Alabama is a 6.5-point underdog to the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, some of you might be like, okay, Uncle Fred, get to the point. But that is the point. Because do you know that Alabama has not been an underdog in 92 games? I'll let you digest on that for a minute. Because it's like, what, 12, 13 games in a season? So you do the math. We talking like what, 8 seasons? Something like that. 7 seasons or something like that. But anyhow, Alabama has not been a dog or underdog in a game since I think it's October 3rd, 2015. That was also against the Georgia Bulldogs. Okay. That was right after we had lost to Ole Miss in that nighttime game. Remember the game where Chad Kelly hit the guy? I want to say it was supposed to have been Laquan Treadwell, and it bounced off his hand. And the other guy caught it, went for like 60 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, that game. I remember that. I remember scenarios. I can't remember names or can't remember the score, but I know we lost. It's the only game we lost that year. And Alabama wasn't looking good. And so Georgia, I think, was undefeated. So when we came into that game, Georgia was installed as a 1.5-point favorite. But a funny thing happened in that game. And I remember that game, and I'm rambling now. I remember that game for the simple fact that I remember as leading up to the game that the Georgia guys was in the, that little area that right before you walk on the field and come out of the tunnel, that the Georgia players had their hype music going on. I want to say that was Drake and Future. I think that's the song they were pumping, and they was bumping around and getting themselves hyped up for the game. And I still remember the Alabama guys came in there and they were getting hyped with them. And they were like, hey, this is our hype. This is our video. Get out of our video. And a little melee ensued. And, they had to clear the side. All right, y'all go over there. Y'all go over there. But I think that took them out there. I think Nick knew they was doing that. They was going to do that. Because there was nothing happened with them Alabama players that Nick don't know about. But anyway, I'm digressing now. They ended up winning that game 38-10. And they really wasn't even that close. It was 38-3. But that was the last time Alabama had been an underdog in a game. And then you got to go back to December 2008, the last time before then. That's a 72-game span for being a favorite. And they were a 5-point underdog to the Florida Gators, and they actually won that game. I think it was like 27-24 or something like that. En route to that going on to the national championship that year. So Alabama has a 92-game being favorite streak and a 72-game, which are the top 2 in college football. Okay. Just thought I'd throw that out here. Alabama's, like I said, a 6.5 point, a touchdown underdog. And we're going to see what's happening. But that's not really the reason why I put this video together or I did my research and thought it was necessary to do this video, because I thought there was some things that's going on that I think people that we as college football fans ought to know. You can't just keep your head in the sand and it just relates to Alabama. Alabama's part of an entity known as the college football, organization or whatever you want to call that. And whatever happens with, the whole of college football, it should be of some interest to those that are college football fans of Alabama. What do I mean? Well, unless you've been under a rock, you've heard yesterday and Saturday and yesterday about the blockbuster signings of coaches just leaving, because there's something going on here in the landscape of college football. Okay. And I'm going to kind of bring some things together and kind of make you see what y'all understand what's going on. And but anyhow, we know the biggest shoe to drop was Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma and going to USC. That sent shockwaves throughout the sports world, because nobody's seen that coming. They thought maybe he might go to LSU or some other. No, he might just stay there. But no. He's leaving there. And we knew USC was going to get a high-profile hire. They talked about Mike Tomlin. Oh, man, ain't a check big enough for me to leave, here. But after they got beat, how they got beat last week, you might want to took that. You might should have took that. But no, man, no, I'm just playing with that. But anyway, so then before you could get the paint to dry on that, we heard tonight Brian Keller leaving Notre Dame and going to LSU. What? Right. There's some things going on here. And then it's believed that Matt Campbell, who's the coach of Iowa State, is probably leaving there, going to Notre Dame. But that's not etched in stone yet, because it might be him. It could be Luke Fickell, who's at Cincinnati. Some people talked about those guys maybe candidates for that job at Notre Dame. And if Luke Fickell do leave Cincinnati to go to Notre Dame, he'd be following in the footsteps of Brian Kelly, who left Cincinnati to go to Notre Dame. Okay. But anyway, let's deal with the first thing first. We're talking about the Lincoln Riley thing, and I'm gonna put it in perspective of why you should care about this, because it's part of the organization that the University of Alabama is a part of, is the NCAA, college football. Okay. So Lincoln Riley took over the program in 2017 from one Bob Stoops, who basically took that program from the doldrums and brought them up to respectability, winning the national championship in 2000 over Florida State, and going to 2 other national championship games, losing both of them, but essentially bringing them back to relevance and to respectability. And they were a dominant program. Okay. But then he left after 2016 and left it to his offensive coordinator, who was Lincoln Riley. Now, Lincoln Riley is what I call a wonderkin, a young dude. No, he kind of just wise beyond his years. It's kind of like, so, and he has taken, and, you would think that he would be, how like Harbaugh was talking about Ryan Day in his post game after they beat Michigan beat Ohio State. So, some guys are born on third and think they hit a triple. In other words, he was talking about Ryan Day getting the program that our Urban Meyer built, and basically you just been handed the keys to the Ferrari, and basically just don't run it into the side of a building or whatever. Just keep it between the ditches. So he's basically saying I had to actually build up Michigan. That's what he's trying to say. And so some sentiment can be said to that from Lincoln Riley, who basically took a program that Bob Stoops built from the ground. But Lincoln Riley expanded that thing, though. Okay. What do I mean by that? Well, he's been there 5 years. He's been at Oklahoma 5 years. In those 5 years, Oklahoma he's gone 55-10. Okay. And is thought of as one of the most imaginative, creative offensive minds in sports. Heck, the Dallas Cowboys was courting him, okay, to be the coach before they settled on Mike McCarthy. But anyhow, Yeah, Jerry Jones had talked about Lincoln Riley, maybe getting him because he wanted that offensive creativity that he brings to the table and things of that nature. So what's really behind the scenes with Lincoln Riley going to USC? Now, what I'm tell you, what Lincoln Riley has done, he is a developer of quarterbacks and of offensive systems. Okay, and he's got 2 Heisman Trophy winners and a Heisman Trophy runner-up in his last 4 seasons. We know Baker Mayfield in 2017 and Kyler Murray in 2018, and of course our own Jalen Hurts. Was like a 2nd or 3rd runner-up in 2019, all under the tutelage of Lincoln Riley. Okay. So to understand what this means, you got to understand the landscape of college football. Now, most of us as Alabama fans usually are only concerned about maybe just the SEC and the general and the University of Alabama in particular. But really, you really have to be paying attention to this thing from a global perspective. Okay, because unless you got your head in the sand, you got to understand that the powers that be, and I'm talking about the people that make all the money. There's a lot of money in college football. I call it an amateur sport, but there's billions of dollars being tossed around in this thing. Okay, and it has been desirous, I think that's a word, of the NCAA to have a power on the West Coast. See, if the NCAA had it the way they wanted it, I'm gonna tell you how they would have it. They would want a dominant team in the LA market or the West Coast market, like a USC, a power in sort of the mid Southwest, like a Texas, a power in like the Midwest, like an Ohio State or Michigan, and like a power in the South, like an Alabama or a Clemson or Georgia. Okay. But from 2015 to 2018, what did you get? Okay. All right. Now, the first college football playoff there was 2014. And that was Alabama versus Alabama. It was Oregon versus Ohio State. And Ohio State won that. Okay. And then the next year was Alabama versus Clemson. And then the next year was Alabama versus Clemson. And the next year it was Alabama versus Georgia. And the next year it was Alabama versus Clemson. So for 4 years, you got a Southern Regional Championship. Now for us, that's fine, man. We good. We good, man. We good. That first Alabama Clemson championship, where they did the little onside kick, and that, you remember all that, and Derrick Henry ran for like 200 yards. Yeah, you remember that. One of my favorite championship games. Then the next year, they got us back, and then Hunter Renfrow caught the touchdown pass, and they pushed off though, but whatever. And they won that one. And then, of course, we beat Georgia on the last second Tua Tagovailoa pass to Devontae Smith in that Georgia game against us. I think we ended up winning that one 26-20, I think. And of course, the next year, which is, I think this is a highly suspect game or whatever. I think there was some shady goings on there, but that's fine. I'm not getting into that. Alabama loses to Clemson 44-16. And I think it wasn't no coincidence. The next day on all the talk show things, college football got saved because the big bad Alabama got took down. So I was wondering if there was some nefarious things going on, because I've never seen an Alabama team lose like that, where they were totally unprepared, totally outclassed, totally out everything, But I'm digressing here. But anyway, those were some of the lowest ranked college football championship games. You know why? Because it was regional. Only if you was above Tennessee, northwise, you wasn't watching. If you was west of, like, say, I don't know, Arkansas or Oklahoma or somewhere in there, you wasn't watching. And if you was, anywhere, in the east of, north of west, east of South Carolina, you probably wasn't watching. So you're probably talking about 75% of the country not watching, not caring. Okay. Now, as Alabama fans, you might say, well, that's y'all's fault because y'all missed some good football. And y'all did. It was great football. But the thing of the matter is, and you have to understand this, that you got to involve everybody in the country in order to make this thing work. In terms of, because the more money it generates, then, because I'm going to tell you, if they start having, games where the things are ranking the lowest of ever, whatever, then some nefarious things going to go on to make sure that don't happen again, if you understand my point. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, now, where I was ecstatic about Alabama's 52-24 win over Ohio State in last year's college football playoff, oh, that was wonderful. Devontae Smith in about a half had like 200 yards and like 2-3 touchdowns. But did you know that was the lowest ranked college football playoff ever in the history of college football? Did you know that? Only drawing in about 18.8 million viewers. Did you know that the semifinal, which was Clemson versus Ohio State, which was the semifinal, drew in more than the championship game? That's the first time that's ever happened. All right. Now, some of that is due to, we know, the COVID. People weren't watching stuff as much as they've been. That was 2020. So that was going on. But you also got to factor in there's a whole lot of Alabama fatigue across the country. They tired of seeing Alabama. I'm listening to talk shows out there, calling cars. Somebody else needs to get in there. Bama's just holding the rest of college football hostage. And my answer to that was like, look, man, don't ask Nick Saban to take a knee. Why don't y'all get y'all game up? And so Lincoln Riley going to the dormant program that used to be USC is their attempt of the rest of the country getting their game up. Okay. Let me tell you what I'm talking about here. So I took the liberty of researching like the most watched college football games ever. Alabama's in one of them, believe it or not. But you know what the number one watched college football game of all time was? It was the 2006 Rose Bowl between USC and Texas. 35.6 million viewers watched that show, or twice as many people that watched Alabama and Ohio State last year. Okay. All right. What viewers mean dollars. Okay. Dollars mean ad money. Okay. All right. So them people who put these games on aren't putting them on for our entertainment. They're putting them on because they make money. And the more money that they make, those are the teams they want in there. Okay. You might not like that, but that's what it is. Okay. They're not putting these games on just for our entertainment because we like. No, if it's not making money, nobody's watching. And they don't want, they're not going to put them on. They're not putting these games on for free is what I'm saying. So if a certain team, say Michigan, say Notre Dame, say Ohio State, say Texas, say USC, those teams turn the turnstile. Now, number two in that survey was 3 years later, the national championship game between Alabama, again, and Texas. The first of Alabama's championship. No other of Alabama's championship games are in there? No, there's not. Okay. Now, there's down at number 12 is Alabama's semifinal against Ohio State. It's number 12. It drew in 28.3. It's the same two teams. All right. Alabama and Ohio State, but it drew 28.3 million viewers. Of course, now it was a different time then. It was this new college football playoff format that was, because people have been clamoring for a playoff all this time. They was tired of the BCS, tired of the bowl system. They was tired of all that stuff. So the college football playoff drew a lot of interest and all that. So anyhow, but if you look at some of the highest grossing games, you'll see a pattern here. You see what region of the country these people are coming from. But these numbers are coming from. Number 3 is the Rose Bowl from 1996, USC and Northwestern, Midwest and West. Okay. Number 4 is the Sugar Bowl, Alabama versus Miami. Okay. Now that one ranked high because everybody wanted somebody to knock Miami off, and that Miami always been braggadocious, been in your face, been And, Alabama was a kind of, like they are now, just kind of like we just do our business. We don't fanfare. We just play, clean, hard-nosed football. We're respectful. We play. We just play. And they wanted that clean-cut image of Alabama to beat that renegade image of Miami. And I remember that they beat them 32-13. I remember that. George T. ran down Lamar Thomas with that. He was going for a touchdown, ran him down, took the ball from him, and they had to take the offside penalty. Otherwise, it would have been just a decline touchdown. But George T. ran it down. I'm digressing. That's been like almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago. Y'all ain't know nothing about that. But anyway, that was number 12. Number 4, 30.1 million. Okay. Then number 5 is Nebraska versus Miami. Okay, Midwest sort of, mid Southwest versus South. Miami had a following because they, Colorado versus Notre Dame, another high-profile program in Notre Dame. Colorado not so much because they were playing Notre Dame. It's going to be in there. Fiesta Bowl in 2003, Ohio State versus Miami. Ohio State whooped them. Jim Trestle's one and only championship. And Michigan versus 98, Michigan versus Washington State. You're kind of seeing a pattern here. Florida State versus Nebraska in 94. I think that was Bobby Bowden's first championship. Everybody wanted Bobby Bowden to finally win one because they was bridesmaids so many times. He finally got him one. And of course, I told you about Ohio State. Ohio State in Florida in 2007, and then Penn State in Oregon, and then the Rose Bowl within Oregon and Florida State, which is 2014, I think, 2015. Okay, that's the other semifinal. Alabama and Ohio State was one semifinal, but the Alabama and Ohio State one drew 2/10 of a million more than that game. So what I'm saying is that they're looking at, we trying to get back to that 35.6 million that USC Texas drew. They're trying to get to that. Okay. The USC done tried all kind of things. Now, when Pete Carroll had that thing going in USC, because I was kind of a fan, because Alabama, I'm a Pearl Tide fan, but I was enjoying the brand of football that USC was bringing to the table. And now I'm just a fan of good sports, good football. So I see good football, I'm going to be attracted to it. So they had a wonderful program. I think there was like 55-9 over like 6 years. That program. And they won 35 in a row at one point. So they was just as dominant in a short period of time as Alabama is over a long period of time. Okay, but anyhow, but ever since Pete Carroll left in 2009, USC been searching. They done went with what's my man's name? It's at USC now. Can you mean names? They done went with him. They done went with my man that's at Texas now. That used to be our offensive coordinator. They done went with him and Clay Helton. They done went with all kind of substitute teachers and stuff like that, thinking they can recapture that magic. Lane Kiffin, that's his name. Lane Kiffin. Names come and go with me like that. Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, those guys. They both of them were together on USC staff under Pete Carroll. You know that, right? Okay. Didn't know if y'all knew that. But they were. But anyhow, they've been trying to do that. They've been trying to, and I'm going to tell you something about LA. That's one of the things I dislike about the LA market, because they're front runners. Okay. They really don't deserve winning programs, in my opinion. But I've heard some talk show pundits that's from that region say, hey, when our teams are good, we support them. When they're not good, we do something else. We LA. We can go to the mountains. We can go to the beach. We can go to a show. We can go to Rodeo Drive. We can go to Venice Beach. We can do all these things. There's stars here. We can get on the little Walk of Fame. Right? We can do that. We can take tours, and there's different things to do that the other parts of the country aren't privy to. So they said, yeah. So if a team ain't good, yeah, you can go to the Coliseum right now, and I could go and find a seat at the Coliseum. But back in the heyday from 2002 to 2005, you couldn't get a ticket to a USC game. I mean, it was. The stars was there. You would see Snoop at the games. You would see Dr. Dre at the games. You would see all kind of guys. You'd see like Denzel Washington at the games. You see, because it was a big thing. When they start having 7-5, 6-6 seasons. Then couldn't find nobody because they front runners. Okay, they front runners. The whole LA market, front runners. That's what they are. Okay, but the front runners got money in their pocket. Okay, that's one thing that people got to understand. You might not like a demographic or think a demographic is not worthy or whatever the case might be, but what folks got to understand is them folks got money in their pocket, and it'll be smart of you to figure out a way to get it. Okay, I'll even go back to something that may be a taboo subject to talk about: the whole civil rights movement. People didn't start the laws and stuff didn't change because folks wanted African American folks to have things. They decided, hey, them folks got money in their pocket just like everybody else. And it'd be stupid of you not to make your product available to anybody that wanted it, regardless of what they look like or what kind of lifestyle you may think they have. Their money still spends. So as to think globally about this thing, yeah, I don't like the what do you call it? Where the short attention span, the shallowness of the these other markets, and especially like the Los Angeles, but they got money, okay? And they money spends. And them people that put those commercials and stuff and fund these things, these bowl championship people that put all this stuff together, they want some of that money. And if they can figure out a way to get one of them teams that those kind of people follow to get them interested, they're gonna do that. So Lincoln Riley goes there, and that means something, because now it's going to be a different thing altogether when it comes to us. When I say us, I'm talking about the University of Alabama. More light here. There we go. I can see y'all better. I knew there was something going on. Because let's think about this, and this is my opinion. Y'all can disagree if you want. You don't have to. It don't matter. It's fine. Uncle Fred gonna be fine. It's my opinion that if Pete Carroll had it been at USC all this time and had won a couple more championships doing it, or if Lincoln Riley had been there and had done had the following that he has and had been there earlier than now, I have a sneaky suspicion that Tua Tagovailoa would not be at Alabama. He'd be at USC. I have a feeling that Najee Harris would not have come to Alabama. He'd have went to USC. I have a feeling that Bryce Young, who grew up in Pasadena, right in the backyard of Los Angeles, he wouldn't have come to Alabama. He would have went to USC. Okay. So what's the guy's name? DJ Ungaleo that goes to Clemson. He's South California native. He wouldn't have came to Clemson. He went to USC. Okay. So that's the thing. Now, if you think that Uncle Fred don't know what he's talking about, let's think of this for an example. If you was Bryce Young and you didn't know anything, you was being recruited, and let's look at what's going on even right now. If you was Bryce Young and you was what they call a dual threat quarterback, the top one in the country, which he was coming out in 2020, 19 and 20, and you was being recruited by Alabama and recruited by USC. Let's say Lincoln Riley's at USC. Who would you pick to guide your offensive prowess? Would you Lincoln Riley or Bill O'Brien? Now, the reason I go head coach, assistant coach thing, because we know from the teams that Oklahoma put together, Lincoln Riley's hands are all over that offense. That offense is run by him. That's his system that he installed. Okay, that's his system. Nick Saban don't run the offense with Alabama. Now, he may suggest, I want y'all to run the ball now. Run the ball, be physical. Don't throw the ball, because I know him and Lane Kiffin was going back. And Lane Kiffin wanted to throw the ball all over the yard and stuff like that. And Nick was like, look, man, it's the time we got running the daggum football. I know he do that, but as far as like designing the offense and stuff like that, no, that ain't, he's not, that's not, he's more of the organizational type coach, Lincoln Riley's kind of hands-on. He's scheming up things and whatnot. So if you, Bryce Young, wouldn't you be more intrigued to be coached by Lincoln Riley than Bill O'Brien? Just throwing it out there, okay? And not to mention the location. It's Los Angeles. It's sun, beaches, girls in bikinis, 85 degrees, 75, 85 degrees all year long. And you got a chance to play, and you're going to see stars. And not to mention the NIL, the National Image and Likeness opportunities that are there. Now, I know Bryce Young got some money in that, but can you imagine good-looking kid like him in Southern California, kind of money he could acquire for that, for that kind of stuff, and all the Silicon Valley and the tech companies and different things, modeling companies and whatever that could use his good looks and stuff like that, and could use him or whatever, and could market, he could get. So you got all that going. So that's all I'm saying is that understand. I just want Alabama to look at the landscape that's being going around, and then look at the fact that now, if you say that you want the rest of the country to think like us, like, just watch our games, watch Alabama, just watch some good football. I want y'all to think about something. Now, I was checking out the college football playoff rankings, and I think they got Georgia number 1. I think Cincinnati's number 2. I think Michigan's number 3 with that upset. I don't know if it's an upset over Ohio State. And I think they got us at number 4. Okay. I think they moved us down to number 4. And then I think at number 5, I think they got Oklahoma State. And number 6, they got Notre Dame or something like that. Let's just say for L's and G's, for laughs and giggles, let's just say this. And I want you Alabama fans to be honest with me. If that thing went down like this, let's say, for instance, in the SEC championship game, Alabama lost, and then Georgia went on to the college football playoff. But let's say they got upset by, say, Oklahoma State. Okay. And let's say that Cincinnati got beat by Michigan. Let's just put that in. And so the championship game would be Oklahoma State and Michigan. Question. You watching? Just a simple question. You watching? Now, me, I'm going to watch, even though I couldn't tell you a single player on Oklahoma State other than Coach Mike Gundy. I know him. I remember when he played. Okay. In Michigan, I know that Hassan Haskins, the running back that had 5 touchdowns, I know him. And I know the quarterback, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I know him, but that's about it. They got a nice pass rusher. I can't. His name escapes me right now too. But I know Michigan, good tradition of football. But I'm gonna watch it. I just want to see what happens. But as a true blue Alabama Crimson Tide fan, if it end up being Michigan and Oklahoma State just for laughs and giggles, you watching? Because if you don't, then you see how the rest of the country feels when it's Alabama and Clemson, or if Alabama and Clemson, then it's Alabama and Clemson, then it's Alabama and Georgia. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all Uncle Fred's saying, is that you got to think of this thing globally. Now, what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that Alabama, I need to take a step back, but the rest of the country got to take a step up. They got to come with it, and I think that's kind of what's happening. And I'm banking that, with the recruiting that he's going to be able to get, he's taking a lot of his coaching staff with him. Oklahoma going to be in the lurch. I think they got Bob Stoops coming in the interim, the guy that built the program. He may come back and try to take the job. I don't know, but I think that's a cushy job on Fox. You're getting $1.5 million a year just to sit on there and talk football. They ain't got to worry about putting together no game plans. Got to go and sit in some crappy living room of somebody's house trying to sell them how to come to your university. But if you got that itch, you might come back. But then the Brian Kelly thing kind of got me too, because Brian Kelly has done a remarkable job at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly in 12 years, 113-40. Lost the championship game to Alabama in 2012, 2013. I think it's 42-14 who put that thing on. Okay. A.J. McCarron, Eddie Lacy. Amari Cooper put that thing on them, okay? And then they lost to us in the semifinals last year, 31-14. They also lost to the semifinals in 18-19 to Clemson. So he's had Notre Dame competitive. And it's sort of an odd thing because they're 11-1. They only lost was to Cincinnati, okay? Some things fall a certain way in these conference championship games, and they don't have a conference championship game this year, which is weird to me because they played in the conference championship game last year against Clemson. Y'all remember that? Because they beat Clemson the first time when Trevor Lawrence was sick. Remember, they had DJ Untitled. I can never say his name right. And he played well, but they lost. And then they came back in the championship game with the conference, and Clemson housed them. But Notre Dame don't have no championship game, no conference game to play. I guess that was a 1-year deal. But anyway, so if some of these conference games go a certain way, say Alabama loses, there's no way, no reason why Notre Dame couldn't catapult themselves into the national championship game, Final Four. You know they'd love to have Notre Dame in there. So if you would leave a team that has an opportunity to play for a championship, perhaps. I don't know, man. That's something. So you have to think that there's a lot of money change hands. Now, I read something somewhere that said that the deal to LSU was worth upwards of $100 million over 10 years. That's why he did that, because that money to be made. He sent a text to his kids about 9 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock tonight, saying he's sorry that they had to find about it through social media outlets and whatnot. He wanted to tell them in person. He's flying back from Baton Rouge there tonight so he can talk to them first thing in the Tuesday morning. I hope that makes you sleep at night. But that $100 million, $100 million, though, bro. I know there's a lot of money involved in this thing. Now, you also have to factor in that this, and some people had said that the reason Lincoln Riley went to USC is because the SEC, the USC, Oklahoma is supposed to be, along with Texas, is supposed to be moving to the SEC. He didn't want that smoke, but I don't know. I don't know. Because they negotiated that deal under the cover of the night. The Big 12 knew nothing about them in Texas doing them backroom deals. They knew nothing about it. So I wouldn't think that, like, at the 11th hour he would say, you know what, I'm gonna get up out of here and go to Texas. Go to USC. I can't see why he would do that, but that's the narrative. Like, he ain't want that smoke. I'm gonna say this SEC, this SEC West. Oh, it's getting ready to be something. That's why I put in my description how this affects Alabama. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Brian Keller can coach. He can coach his AAS off. Okay, this guy won 113-40 at Notre Dame. Do you realize the academic restrictions you have at Notre Dame? Do you not realize how hard it is to get 5-star, 4-star athletes that can get a 800-900 on the SAT or SAT or whatever it is at the same time? You know how hard that is? He don't have to worry about that at LSU because they don't have those kind of requirements. And he gonna come to LSU and find us a dadgum, look at all this talent. Okay, it just needs somebody to put it together. And see, Ed Orgeron, good old boy, good fella, but really couldn't coach himself out of a wet paper bag. He had to go get Joe Brady and Dave Aranda to do that thing for him. No, Joe Brady coached his offense, and that offense was spectacular. That looked like Alabama. That looked like Tua, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, and Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle. That's what their offense looked like with what's my man's name that plays for Cincinnati? You know, me and names. Him, Justin Jefferson, and Moss, the tight end, and Edwards-Helaire, and all them guys. But he needed Joe Brady for that, and Dave Aranda for that defense. Okay, so that's what's going on there. So, and then when them guys left, they went 15-0 that year. Do you not know the Ed Orgeron, without them guys babysitting him, putting his offense together? Jamar Chase. I couldn't remember his name. Jamar Chase. Okay, and Terrence Marshall. So it was Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall, Justin Jefferson, and Thaddeus Moss. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's who it was. It all come to me. But when them guys left to the NFL, them guys, the Justin Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire went to the NFL, and Jamar Chase sat out 2020 because for obvious reasons. They went 6-6 or 7-6. Okay, 7-5 rather. They went 7-5, and this year they went 6-6. You know, Ed Orgeron, without all them guys designing them plays and putting them 5-star receivers and skill position players in the right position, you know, he won 11-11 the 2 years after his national championship. 11-11. He won more games that 1 year than he won the next 2. Okay, but the talent is there. You just need somebody to be able to put that together. Okay, so Brian Kelly gonna go to LSU and look at all that talent. It's like, man, what I can do with this talent, you know. So anyway, and then on the side note, Billy Napier from Louisiana, which is the Raging Cajuns, leaves there and goes to Florida. Florida jumped on him quick because they thought that he may have been persuaded to go to LSU, so they nabbed him up quick. And if they had just waited, they could have got him at their price if they'd have known that Brian Keller was coming there. But they do all these backroom deals in the cover of the night. Nobody knows about that. So anyhow, so that's gonna make the SEC East, West, and the SEC in general. Ooh, it's gonna be good, man, because you know you're getting Brian Kelly in there, and LSU is gonna be formidable. We don't know what my man at Auburn's gonna be doing. You know, I can't believe they're gonna be as bad. He's gonna get him a quarterback in there, and they're gonna be decent. And of course, Alabama's just gonna be Alabama. We just because we're the standard. We're the measuring stick that all other programs need, whether in the SEC, the Big 12, Big 10, Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever you want to call it. We're the standard that they all got to measure up to, and they all trying to shoot their shot to get to. Okay, that's why all half of the SEC guys have lost their job because they couldn't compete with Nick and what he put together in Alabama. But understand this: with Lincoln Riley going to USC and Brian Kelly going to LSU, job's gonna be a little more challenging now. Okay, because Georgia is probably not going nowhere for a while. So, and of course, in a year or so, Oklahoma's coming with whoever they bring. Texas, I don't think it matters. They just got a lot of fans. I don't think they're gonna be. We don't know, but I pulled for Sark though, because he one of ours. He you know, he's been part of like a couple of championships for us, either you know as a consultant or as an offensive coordinator. So I kind of halfway hope that he does well, but he ain't look good this year at all. But anyway, that's all I got today for that. And I just thought I'd bring you to hip you in some of those things and have y'all to kind of think globally about this college football thing. And like I said, I don't want the rest of the country to encourage or to, you know, whatever for Alabama to come down off the perch. I want y'all to come up to us. We're not coming off the mountain. You need to come up to here where we at. And Lincoln Riley going to USC is an attempt for the rest of the country to kind of catch up to us. And good luck to you, because we're not coming down no time soon. Okay. All right. That's all I got, man. I'm going to give you a roll tide on that. But just something to think about. Watch the movings and shakings going around this college football landscape as these days go by. And see who's leaving who for where. Because, you know, you figure there's a lot of money changing hands. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some entities in college football that persuaded Lincoln Riley to leave Oklahoma because they really need to build that thing up in USC. So they have a force on the West Coast, a force in the South, and a force in the Midwest. So you can have that global thing. So when the championship is coming on, you got viewers from the East, West, South, North, you know, watching that game. And you get back to this 35.6 million viewership, as you see that right there. That's what they want. See that right there? That's what they want, you know, because that's money. Okay. So that's all I got from the desk of Uncle Fred, just giving you some perspective on some other things. Just let you know, Uncle Fred know about some other things. I know I just talk about Dallas Cowboys and University of Alabama and maybe some NFL stuff, but I know about some other things too. Yeah, I know about college football and the movements and shakings and stuff like that. I know about golf. You know, Lee Elder, the first Black African-American that played in a Masters. He died today. I know about golf. I know about baseball too. Max Scherzer just signed a deal to go to the New York Mets. I think it's 3 years, like 38 million or something like that. And then some other guys went to the Texas Rangers. You know, they spent like $500 billion, you know. So I know a little bit about everything. You know, I know that the Warriors are 18-2 in the NBA and leading the league and about to win them another chip for Steph and them guys. I know about that. I know about a lot of things. I just don't choose to talk about them today, but I'm gonna get to them. I got stories, man, I ain't told yet, man. I'm gonna get to them. But that's all I got from the desk, Uncle Fred. You know, y'all be easy. I'll catch y'all on the other side. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of the Uncle Fred experience. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Y'all take care now.